name is Ellis. I'm a solicitor here at Lawdit, and today I am joined by one of the newest members of our team, Samuel. Good afternoon, Samuel.
Good afternoon.
So, I have asked Samuel to join me in the podcast room to just introduce himself, have a chat about where he is with his studies, what he does at Lawdit, and also our sister company Trademark Room, and just sort of introduce yourself to the podcast listeners. So, welcome, Samuel. Did you want to start with just sort of an introduction as to what brought you to Lawdit? Where are you in your studies and your journey?
Okay, so I am on my third year at studying law at university at Solent. I'm graduating very soon, which I'm very excited about. And I've been work experience at Lawdit for the past 6 months.
Lovely. And after you graduate, which is indeed very exciting, what are your plans and aspirations for the future? Where do you want to go?
I've been interested in law for as long as I can remember, really. And especially IP recently in the past, I'd say 3 years, especially after I did my intellectual property module at university.
Yeah.
And I would love to become a solicitor involved in the IP area.
Okay, so that is why you're joining me on today's podcast and not one of the other members of the team. So as frequent listeners will know, I am a solicitor specialising in intellectual property, so it is an area that also interests me very much, and I always say the best area. I always say it's the best one. People disagree with me, but it is. So you at a university at the moment, nearly finished, and you say your love for intellectual property sparked from your time at university, or were you aware of intellectual property before you started?
I was aware. So one of the things that really got me into intellectual property, or just the idea of copyright, who owns what online, was it was quite a few years ago, and I was watching YouTube videos, and I saw a live stream of someone who was just live streaming. I think it was a TV program. I think it was MasterChef, or it was an Avatar. It was something, and I was interested because I was like, how are they able to stream or show themselves just watching something without actually adding or changing any of the content? And then I started looking into the law behind it, and it was really interesting. And that was sort of the thing that kick-started it really with me.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I would say probably most people aren't aware that they are aware of intellectual property, if that makes sense. So it's interesting that you had an instance that sparked that before you were at university. Did you have, when you first started at uni, did you have any sort of other areas in mind that you thought you might be interested in?
I mean, I think like most people who do law, they quite enjoy criminal law as a start, but I've decided I didn't want to really practice that area of law. I quite liked contract law, sort of going in, but it wasn't really my sort of thing. And in my second year, when I did my IP module, that was when I was sort of like, this is what really interests me.
Yeah.
And I did a winter legal cheat vacation sort of scheme, and there were some intellectual property lawyers that came on, and they were talking about specifically intellectual property involved in things like games, which in my free time when I do get the chance, I do sort of delve into and look at myself. Yeah. So it was really interesting to see, oh, hang on, all these things that I've been doing and all these things that a lot of people will do, everything relates back to intellectual property. It's everywhere without you even realising sometimes. Yeah. And I think that's something I just want to be involved in. Yeah,
absolutely. So, but prior to your degree, did you study intellectual property? Did you study law at A level or GCSE?
Yeah, so I did at A level. I would have done it at GCSE, but it wasn't available. Yeah. But yeah, I studied it, and it was my first choice at college.
And was that sort of where your initial sort of criminal law interest came from?
Yeah, I quite liked criminal law, and all that. So I quite liked tort as well at college, and I was deciding what to do at university, and my instant choice was Solent and law, because that's just, out of the 3 subjects that I did, it was the most passionate I was about it. It was the most fun I had, because I always loved learning new things about law, looking into cases, being told a case and going, oh, actually, I'll go home and I'll look that case up and read about it more. It's sort of always interested me.
Yeah. If I remember way back when all of this was fields, when I did my A-level, a good proportion of it was about criminal law. I did a
Yes.
little bit of contract, but mostly about criminal law. And I think that for any law students that are listening, is probably a normal initial sort of pull because of the lives of people and the differences and the interest that can come through in all the different cases and all the different offences. But I would imagine a lot of people do exactly as you have done. You then go to university, you study lots of different areas of law and realise that actually criminal is quite a small part of it. And especially recently with funding and legal aid, criminal law as an area has changed very dramatically. So I would have thought you are with many other people who have then sort of looked to the civil side of things, but not many people probably will delve into intellectual property. So looking at intellectual property as a whole, you've mentioned copyright. Would you say that is your sort of most favoured intellectual property right that interests you the most?
Yeah, I think so. I really like sort of the copyright or the copyright infringement, where, you know, someone's infringed on someone else's copyright. That's quite interesting to me because it brings up the ownership of who owns what and how much you have to change something for it to be distinctive, for it to be your own sort of thing. That sort of area I quite like.
Okay, yeah, interesting. So for those that are listening and who may not have caught one of our previous podcasts, there are different types of intellectual property rights. So the main ones being trademarks, copyright, patents, registered designs. They are the ones that most people would be aware of. And it's interesting that you choose copyright, because copyright sort of stands out a little bit from the others because it's unregistered. So there are types of intellectual property rights such as trademarks and patents that are registered rights, so there's an application process, but copyright arises automatically, and a lot of time spent when it comes to copyright infringement is taken up by the evidence of ownership, and then evidence of originality and the copying. So it's interesting that that is your favourite, because it is very varied and can sort of change all the time. So in terms of your future, you say you're looking to qualify as a solicitor. Do you think that you will want to specialise in intellectual property all the time?
That's my goal, yes. That is my plan. However, I'm also open to other areas. So I quite like the look of going into or doing a little bit of like family law as well sometimes. Because that's quite interesting. I found that quite interesting at university when I did into the module. But mainly IP, just because. But I'm happy to try anything really.
Yeah, it's interesting though because that is a very different world. Yeah. So I like to say in the IP world, you mostly deal with businesses or individuals, and that can make life more straightforward. Whereas family law is very people, emotions. Sort of we're still in the litigation field, but it is very different, so that is very interesting, and I'm sure my colleague Mark, when he listens to this, will be very interested to hear that. So maybe don't repeat that too often because he might be pulling you into some family law meetings. Okay, brilliant. So in terms of where you are with Lawdit, so you have been working with Lawdit, but you've also been working with our sister company, the Trademark Room.
Yes.
So for those that are listening, the Trademark Room is our sister company, specialises in the global registration of trademarks and other related trademark services. In terms of what you are doing for us now, obviously it's varied. You're assisting various fee earners and doing a wide range of tasks. Has there been anything that you've done that has been surprising to you in terms of being something that you were interested in that you weren't aware of before?
Well, it's a bit like our current task at the moment, reaching out to different law firms and databases. I've quite liked the organisation part of. So to see a bit of backstory, we are branching out and trying to grow our network of IP specialists in other countries so we can offer a wider range of services to everywhere. And one of the tasks that I've been given is to try and find these firms, contact them, ask them, database their information to try and make it easier for us to give them work when we have it.
Yeah.
And that's been surprising to me because I didn't think I'd be really doing that part of it, because I thought I would be doing a lot more like written work in a sense.
Yeah.
And this has been a bit of a surprise of, I didn't know what to expect really, and this has been quite a nice surprise for me to be able to do.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think when I was in your position when I was doing my degree, and then when I started to work in a firm, I think probably the organisational side of things is something that you don't really... I did the legal practice course. You will do the Solicitors qualifying examinations after your degree, and that is touched upon a little bit in the course that I did, but you expect, or I certainly did, that your day as a solicitor or a trainee solicitor or a paralegal or whatever your role is in the firm, to spend the whole day drafting letters, drafting advice notes, drafting documents. But actually a lot of what I do as a solicitor and everyone else does is emails back and forth, forging those relationships, talking to clients, talking to other professionals, and that skill of sort of building that rapport is really important, and is certainly an interesting one, particularly with the work that we do at the Trademark Room. We are connected to international agents around the world all the time, so I'm glad because as you sort of develop in your training, that will be something that you'll do more and more. So amazing. Perfect. Well, we will wrap this one up, and I'm sure you'll hear Samuel on the podcast shortly on other episodes for different topics, but just wanted to introduce Samuel to you all. So welcome to the Lawdit podcast, and if there is anything that you are listening and you want to discuss, whether it's trademarks, patents, designs, IP related, or any other matter, please get in touch with Lawdit. Our details are on our website, www.lawdit.co.uk, and you can get in touch with myself, Samuel, or any other of the team to chat through anything that you may want to. So thank you very much for joining me, Samuel.
Thank you very much.
And you'll be back in your ears shortly. Bye-bye.